You know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right. Very good. I like it.
Now, obviously, that is very disgusting and bigoted and racist as far as the thing to say, but some people might also call it dead naming. I'm only kidding. But the truth is that there is a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. But of course, Tony doesn't know that because he is a hack comedian. He is stupid. He relies on jokes to the lowest common denominator to get people to respond to his comedy, if you can call it that. He isn't intelligent enough to craft an actual joke that doesn't pick on somebody that he perceives as below him. And he doesn't have anyone to punch up at because, well, look at him. And it's just easier to punch down. Now, in this clip, Tony is at Madison Square Garden at a Trump rally prior to the election. And some people have actually drawn a lot of comparison of this rally to the 1939 Nazi rally, which was also held at Madison Square Garden. But I digress. Tony Hinchcliffe is a Republican voter, which means that we can confidently and reliably assume that he is stupid, unintelligent, like most Trump and Republican voters. But a lot of the people in this room with them right now are not just Republican and Trump voters, they are Republican and Trump politicians, pundits, and media personalities. These people are not stupid. These people are instead smart and evil. They know what their policies are doing, and they know that no one would vote for them if they ran on the things that they actually want to do. Things like cutting Social Security, tax cuts for the wealthy, driving the working class into the ground, militarizing the police, on and on and on. They understand that the Republican Party has nothing to offer the voters and the American people, and that's why they campaign on these made-up culture war issues. They make up trans panic. They make up record high crime rates, even though crime is down nationally. They make up fake immigration numbers. And all the while they're telling people, everything is so dangerous, but I will keep you safe. They're really coming for you, but I am in the way. These are the oldest tricks in the book, but Republican voters are somehow still dumb enough to continue falling for them. Tony Hinchcliffe accepted his role as the opener comedian at this Nazi rally. He firmly cemented himself on the wrong side of history, and for that reason, he would never present a quote-unquote joke to these people about the real floating island of garbage in the ocean, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. That would go against everything the Republican Party stands for, because that garbage patch is the result of a lack of industry regulations, a lack of care regarding pollution, a lack of understanding of science when it comes to climate change, a lack of empathy wanting to preserve the world for the future of our children and our fellow man, and a lack of seriousness that this is a problem that we need to deal with in the first place. But even more evident than that is the fact that even if Tony Hinchcliffe was on the right side of history, he is not intelligent enough to craft a joke about subject matter like that in the first place. At first glance, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch might seem like a scene out of a dystopian novel, a floating island of garbage in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, stretching across an area twice the size of Texas. It's the consequences of decades of pollution, negligence, and political inaction. The garbage patch is not an island in the typical sense. It's more like a swirling soup of plastic, microplastics, fishing gear, and other debris. Positioned between Hawaii and California, this patch is actually two vast zones holding over 1.8 trillion pieces of plastic. It's a disturbing example of what happens when single-use plastics and insufficient waste management collide. In the post-World War II era, the world saw a boom in plastic production. Plastics were cheap, durable, and they quickly became ubiquitous. However, only about 9% of plastic ever produced has been recycled, leaving the rest in landfills, incinerators, and the ocean. Over time, the ocean created vast rotating currents that trap floating plastic and waste in similar places. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is actually the largest of 5 garbage patches globally, driven by ocean currents that collect debris over thousands of miles. The garbage patch is more than just a product of human consumption, it's a direct result of political and regulatory failures particularly the resistance from right-wing governments. In the United States, for example, corporations and right-leaning lawmakers have consistently lobbied against stricter plastic and pollution regulations, opposing policies like plastic bag bans, extended producer responsibility laws, and international treaties on plastic waste. Many right-wing politicians argue that these regulations burden businesses and infringe on personal freedoms, ignoring the environmental and economic costs of pollution. And this resistance isn't limited to the United States. Countries with more conservative leadership like Australia and Brazil have also not slowed down on plastic production, while they have slowed down on plastic regulation initiatives. They often prioritize corporate interests over environmental welfare. Many environmental experts warn that without regulatory change, the garbage islands will only grow, with dire consequences for our oceans and planet. These garbage patches have severe consequences for marine ecosystems and human health. Marine animals mistake plastic for food, ingesting harmful materials that lead to malnutrition or death. It's estimated that around 700 marine species have encountered plastic debris in some way, and therefore, through them, microplastics have entered the human food chain. In humans, studies suggest that microplastics may affect cell function and could potentially be linked to issues like inflammation and toxicity. The more plastic accumulates, the higher risks for all of us and the less likely that ecosystems can bounce back. The solutions to this problem range from large-scale cleanup efforts like those pioneered by the Ocean Cleanup Project to stricter regulations on single-use plastics and improved recycling infrastructure. Importantly, we need political action. Countries must pass legislation that holds corporations accountable. They need to invest in sustainable materials and promote the shift to a circular economy that reduces and reuses plastics. Advocacy and awareness are crucial, but meaningful change requires pressure on policymakers. Citizens, activists, and environmental organizations are already pushing for treaties like the UN Plastic Pollution Treaty, which would set international regulations on plastic production and waste management. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a crisis of our own making, even though the failures to deal with it and all of the contributing factors almost completely fall on the fault of the Conservatives and Republican Party. But it is still something that we can address with quick, decisive, united action. And if Republicans are not willing to play ball, then it should happen anyway. As individuals, communities, and nations, it's up to us to demand policies that protect the planet and prevent further harm. The ocean might be a large void, but it's not infinite. If there was, say, an infinite void where there's nothing going on and there's unlimited space because there's nothing occupying it, that would be a great place to put our trash. Perhaps we could put our trash inside Tony Hinchcliffe's head. There's nothing else going on in there. Tony's joke, again, if you can even call it that, cost the Trump campaign a lot of Puerto Rican support in the territory and the rest of the United States. But it was not enough to cost him the election. To wrap up this video on something funny, I'd like you to know about the hilarious Nicky Jam story. It's related to the Tony Hinchcliffe comments about Puerto Ricans, and I'm certain that David Pakman can tell you about it better than myself.
Nicky Jam is a Latin musical artist. Nicky Jam went to a Trump rally, and Donald Trump, of course, having no idea who Nicky Jam is, thought Nicky was a woman and said that she's really hot. And then a guy with a teardrop with a tear tattoo comes up.
Latin music superstar Nicky Jam. Do you know Nicky? She's hot. Where is Nicky?
Super hot.
Where is Nicky? Thank you, Nicky. Great to be having you here. Now you have
Now
to
up pops a guy.
get. Oh, look. Come here. Come here.
All right, so then Trump figures out Nicky Jam is indeed not a hot woman, but it's actually a guy with face tattoos. And Nicky Jam made a declaration that he is supporting Donald Trump. This led to absolute disaster to the point where Nicky had to disable comments on his Instagram because he was getting absolutely destroyed. Over the weekend at Madison Square Garden, Tony Hinchcliffe says that Nicky Jam's native Puerto Rico is a floating pile of garbage in the ocean. And now Nicky is repealing or rescinding or revoking his endorsement of Trump. This is absolutely awesome. I'm going to play this for you. It's in Spanish. I'll translate as we go along, okay? So he says, you know, my friends, normally I'm not the type of person who's going to answer to this type of thing on camera. I mean, in an interview format or on my social media networks like this. The reason I endorsed Trump is because I thought what was best for the economy. In the US, where lots of Latinos live, including myself in that, many immigrants suffering because of the economy, and I thought that Trump was the best for that. Never did I imagine that just 1 month later, a comedian would show up to criticize my country. Interesting to refer to Puerto Rico as a country and to speak poorly of my country. And because of this, I rescind any support of Donald Trump, and I am stepping aside from any political situation. He's like, I'm out. We found the eject button. I am ejecting with my parachute, never to get involved in politics again.
Puerto Rico se respeta, Nicky Jam.
Puerto Rico should be respected. Nicky Jam. Okay. I mean, this is just awesome. This is awesome in every way. You go out there as Nicky Jam and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to get involved politically. This is going to be great. Trump thinks you're a hot woman. You go up on stage. He clearly has no clue who you are. He sees you as a political pawn. The way he's like, oh, Hispanic artists are here to support me. Cool. Nikki, yeah, she sounds super hot. Up comes Nicky Jam with face tattoos. You go, oh, great, whatever. Nicky Jam gets crushed on social media by Puerto Ricans, Latinos, and just clear-thinking people alike. Turns off comments because he's getting brutalized so badly, and is just waiting. How the hell can I get out of this? Mi gente, as he likes to say, mi gente, how do I get out of this? And then all of a sudden, Tony Hinchcliffe comes in and calls your home a floating pile of garbage. And now he's got the exit. And he goes, no more politics for me. I rescind my support of Trump. Have a nice life. You will never hear from me on politics again. It might have been better. It might have been better from the beginning to have thought through the endorsement a little bit.
Thank you for watching and subscribing, and make sure to like the video and click that bell. Go tell someone you love them. Thanks.